Welcome, everybody. This is Mr. Griffin, and today is Monday, August the 24th. I'm going to present our first math lesson, and today we're going to be going over Unit 1, Lesson 1. Unit 1, Lesson 1. And the title of Lesson 1 is Building a Math Community Through Real Data. Building a Math Community Through Real Data. Our I can statement: I can add and subtract large numbers. I can add and subtract large numbers. Our standard associated with that statement is NC4 NBT4. NC4 NBT4. Our essential question that we're going to be able to answer by the end of this lesson is, how is data useful in real world situations? How is data useful in real world situations? Real world, of course, means that in reality, how can we apply it to something in our everyday lives? How can we apply it to something in our everyday lives? And if you don't already have answers to those, by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to answer that question. Okay, so we got a problem of the day. And what I want you guys to do, and if you're watching this individually, you're still going to take a few minutes to think about this next part here. And what I want you to do is to brainstorm a list of all the ways that you practice math over the summer. Brainstorm a list of all the ways that you practice math over the summer. And just think about it. And again, if you are watching this recording individually, you're going to be thinking about it in your mind. An example could be that you worked on Dreambox over the summer. Even if you got on it once a week, twice a week, that would be a way that you practice math. So think about any other ways that you practice it. And you can pause the video at any point so that you can answer the questions or brainstorm such as this case. Okay, this is Unit 1, and if you're watching this PowerPoint slide, the video link is going to be added right here for you to go back and watch the actual video itself. So what will I be able to do after this lesson? And that answer is going to come in the learning targets, which is right here. I will be able to interpret a bar graph and create and answer questions about the data presented in the graph. Okay, so I will be able to interpret a bar graph and create and answer questions about the data presented in the graph. Okay, if you take a look at this, this is just a sample bar graph right here, and we're going to go over it, some other ones later here. Our lunch. What do you notice about this graph? So on the left side over here, we've got a bar graph. So the first question is, what do you notice about this graph? Then the next question is, what do you wonder about this graph? Now, students could have different answers for what they notice about it or what they wonder about it. And there's not necessarily a wrong answer to it. So let's take a couple minutes. You can pause the video, and I want you to think about, what do you notice about this? What do you wonder about it? An example of something that you noticed about it could be that the title of this is Points Scored. You got points scored up here. So Team 1, it looks like, scored more points for period 2 than they did for period 1. So Team 1 scored more points for period 2 than they did for period 1. And in fact, Team 1 scored more points than any other team if you compare them. What do you wonder about it? You could, an example of something that you could be wondering about it is, Well, how long was their game? How long did it last? Um, why didn't they play 4 quarters? And why isn't it included in here? That's something that you could be wondering about it. Our next set of slides here is a discussion, and we've got a couple different questions. Well, actually, one question up here that we're going to address. So, what are some expectations for our class discussions? Keeping in mind that we are now on remote learning, what are some expectations for our class discussions? So, we're going to pause 1 second. So, if you're watching this individually, you're watching the recording, go ahead on and pause it and take a few minutes and think about what are some things that we can do to make our learning atmosphere the best that it can be. Keeping in mind that this is, we're doing remote learning right now. So some expectations that you could have been thinking of include coming prepared to learn. So what does coming prepared to learn looks like? It looks like if I've assigned you to do an assignment the day before our lesson, I want you to have done that lesson by the time our class starts. Because a lot of these lessons, they build upon each other, and it's going to require you to have done the previous lesson in order to do well in that current lesson. Okay. What are some other expectations that you could be thinking of? Keeping your microphone on mute until it is your turn to speak. That's very important because we've all been in a live session where someone didn't mute their microphone. You can hear a lot of noise in the background, and it makes it really hard to learn in that case. Other expectations that you could have been thinking of: following instructions. If your teacher asks you to post a response in the chat session, in the chat section, that means that we wanted you to type it into the chat section, as opposed to just calling it out. Other expectations: listening to others and asking questions to clarify. Asking questions to clarify. Not just asking questions of your teacher when I'm teaching. I want you to do that. But if some of your other students are presenting also, and you have a question about something that they've talked about, then I want you to be able to feel free to ask about it. The next part right here says, when we create graphs, there are 2 types of data in graphs. The first part is categorical. Now, these are data categories like food, clothes, and hobbies. Data categories like food, clothes, and hobbies. An example would be flavors of ice cream. We all know that there are many different flavors, vanilla, chocolate, and so on. Numerical data would be an example such as number of pets. So generally, you can identify something as numerical data when there's a number in front of it. Let's say, for instance, if you got 2 types of pets, you got 1 dog, you got 1 cat. That's numerical data. So our next part here, how does someone collect the data? Let's think in terms of, there could be a lot of different ways that someone collects data. Okay, let's think about scientists. Scientists who are studying animals, for instance. If they want to find out the total number of animals in a pond, one of the ways they could do it is actually just go out there and watch, and sometimes they might tag them to identify them, but they're going to count them some kind of way. That's one way to collect data. All right, our next slide, bar graph discussion. Now, for this one, you look, we got a bar graph at the top right there, and it says types of pets our grade level has. These are types of pets our grade level has. And if you go down here, you'll see cats, fish, and dogs. and they're labeled as types of pets. And on this side over here, it shows number of pets. And you start with a number of 0 at the bottom, it goes all the way up to 39. Okay, so we're going to go through and answer these questions together. And now, if you're watching this on recorded, I want you to be thinking about your answers. Pause it after each one and go into the graph and see if you can find the actual answers. Number 1 says, which animal was most popular and how do you know? Which animal was most popular and how do you know? Okay, so let's take a look at it. Let's go back to the graph and we're going to take a look at it. Which one was most popular? All right, so for that first one, again, which animal was most popular? We're going to go and look at our graph again, and we look at cats. You go right there. It looks like it stops at 24. Fish, it looks like it stops all the way at 9. Dogs, total of 30. So, most popular animal, it's going to be dogs, because their bar has the highest value. So it's going to be the dogs because their bar has the highest value right here. That's how we know. So what type of data is represented in this graph? Categorical or numerical? And how do you know? And if you're watching it video, go on and pause it. Take a minute. I want you to think about the answer. Okay, so the answer that you should have come up with was categorical data. So this is actually putting things in categories, because the question that's being asked is, what types of pets does our grade level has? What are the types of pets that our grade level has? So we're actually putting them into 3 different categories: cats, fish, and dogs. So this is categorical. Even though that there's numbers over here, it's still going to be categorical. Our next question is, what do you notice, number 3, what do you notice about the scale of this graph? How does it change the way the data is portrayed? What do you notice about the scale of this graph? How does it change how the data is portrayed? Pause your video and I want you to think about that answer. Okay, so when we talk about scale, we're looking at the section over here with number of pets, and we're looking at what kind of pattern do you see over here? What type of pattern do you see over here? How much does each line represent? When you go from here to here, from here to here, how much does each represent? In this case, the scale is 3 because the number for each pet is counted by 3s. You go from 0 to 3 right here, that value is 3. You go from 3 to 6, that value is 3. 6 to 9, that value is 3. And each one all the way up, the value is going to be 3. It changes the size of the bars. And that was number 3. And number 4, the question is, it may be a little bit off the screen here. Why would someone use a scale when creating a graph? Why would someone use one of these scales when creating a graph? Pause it and take a second to think about that answer. So number 4, again, why would someone use a scale when creating a graph? Their answer could be that their data may not fit on the actual graph, and the data is actually large numbers. So you have to actually break it down like this into scale, to small categories. Because if you went by ones each time, where would 39 end up being? It'd be